Hi, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to be here. I work with Bas at Free University, so we're sort of doing a relay thing. And my interest is more into the software development side of things, the standards and things in genome scale, and also theoretical modeling of ecosystems. A lot of this topic has been introduced this morning in various talks, which has been quite nice. So let me just start with this and say, well, what is my view of modeling? Well, somewhere along the line you have real life, and you've got people that study real life, they turn it, so get other people that turn it into mathematics, and then you get people that turn it into software, which lets you actually do something with it. And the modeling process is a sort of a cycle that involves all of these people together. And where the standards come involved is somewhere along here. Being able to exchange models between people doing different things with those models. So the problem is very simple. We got FBA that is sort of doing one model, and now we want to do lots of them, right? So I'm going to do this in the hand of two sort of case studies, very simple ones. So here's one way of studying an ecosystem. We saw it this morning. You can lump it together. You can turn it into compartments, and you can turn it into compartments and do different things with the fluxes, values, whatever. And the question is, can we describe this as in a standard way? So what do we need? Well, obviously, we need metabolites, we need reactions. And this brings into the first problem things like the identifier, which people have talked about at length, stoichiometry, references to Chebyshev. And I would say this is sort of the minimal amount of information that you need, and you need something to be able to encode this in a standard way, right? What becomes more interesting is where you have multiple compartments or species, then you also need this type of information, where it is, what it's located in, what's the organism, and so it becomes very difficult to represent this, for example, as a text file. Just with regard to identifiers, we have a project where we're actually trying to develop a database which essentially connects Chebyshev IDs to reactions using either the big formalism, and these are then used, actually links to sequences, which feeds into our model generating pipeline. So this is one solution we're working on. This will be a database where you could potentially convert models using different formalisms. It of course needs a lot of work. Now we've got reactions and species. We need to, of course, add a little bit of extra stuff. So what do we need? Well, the reaction network that we can get from the stoichiometries. We need to add some sort of objective. This can be maximizing, minimizing biomass, or any linear combination of fluxes, so not just one. We need to be able to define the capacity constraints. And in the end, we end up with some sort of linear program. Now, as we saw earlier, and it's quite interesting, up until, I would say, 2010, but apparently still up until today, this was how you could do it, right? The information that I was talking about was either coded in everything from a PDF to a Word document. You were lucky if you got it as an Excel spreadsheet. This was 2009 where I made the slide, but apparently this is still, people are suffering from the same problems today. One of the more successful ways of encoding it was in is a dialect of SPML used by the Cobra toolbox, but even that was not standard, if you look at it from an SPML perspective. So different people have different ways of dealing with this problem. Mine was, well, if the standard doesn't work, extend it, because you couldn't describe a constraint-based model in SPML at the time. So SPML, I won't go into it. I'd been working it for a long time, so I decided to use that as a basis for it. It has full support for annotation and stuff. Neil has gone into the details. I'll skip that. And essentially, it's a process description language where the processes are giving nice names like species and reactions. Right? So essentially, something is taken up by something, something happens to it, and something is formalized to XML. And most importantly, neutral with respect to both the modeling framework and the tools, which means you can use models for different contexts. So level 2 SPML was just a description of basically an extensor or sort of a kinetic model. This is the one that most people are used to. This is what Cobra Toolbox uses, for example. But SPML itself has evolved to something called SPML level 3, which is to create modularized language. So now what used to be level 2 is now SPML level 3 core. And now you can extend the language with various practices. So this is sort of what they call packages. So this allowed us to then extend SPML with something called the flux balance constraint package, which essentially added on the missing details. There are other things for doing layouts, for doing qualitative models. These are all accepted packages. These ones are in development, things like spatial processes and arrays and things. So using SPML 3, we could actually think about extending it for flux balance analysis. And that we did. As you can see, it takes a while in a relatively simple way. A normal SPML model has things like reactions and species and stuff, so that was dealt with. Annotation was dealt with. We just added onto it a list of flux bounds, which is just a set of simple inequalities, and a list of objectives. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to have multiple objective functions, each of them consisting of multiple reactions or multiple things. So you can even need a linear combination of fluxes. Each of these elements can also be annotated in a full Miriam annotation. So if you want to know how you ended up with a coefficient in a reaction, in a biomass equation, you can also do that sort of thing. This is now available. I think the Cobra Toolbox supports it. I'm not quite sure how my software does. It's a year old now, so everybody. But then most importantly, here had elements. The people that did this was both from the SPML community and from the constraint-based modeling. So the question: can we do this sort of static analysis? Can we do? Is there a standard? Yes, there's a standard. Of course, how you use the standard is an open question. So whether you want to do multiple IDs is still going to be a problem, that sort of thing. But these, as far as classical FBA goes, we can pretty much, there is a standard that can encode it. So if we look at the slightly more interesting case, this is something, so another way of doing microbial ecosystems is using a dynamic approach or a dynamic spatial approach with Daniel. Now here we have a slightly more interesting problem as far as the standard goes, because here we're not really dealing with one model anymore. We have maybe two organisms in the ecosystem interacting. And you can, this is just one way of conceptualizing it, you could conceive of this as actually three models. A set of ODEs for describing your dynamics, and each organism with its own flux balance model, right? So here it's maybe not one model anymore, but maybe a set of interacting models. And that gives you a nice way. So the question is here, how can we exchange a dynamic FBA? Now we know we can do the model description itself with FBA. The thing we know we can describe a kinetic system with standard SPML. How would you go about? There's a new standard that's in development called ZML, and this is for defining a simulation experiment. It has its own, it's an implementation of this standard which is being published as a minimum information about simulation experiment, has its own ontology. And what it allows you to do is things like this. This was designed to basically reproduce a figure in a paper, although it's subsequently been extended further. So you have a model. This would be some model, doesn't matter, can be SPML model, can be CellML model, can be any model that's XML formatted, but let's just say that it's an SPML model. You have a simulation, which is something like simulate using LSODA for 10 seconds. And you can combine these. Now, the nice thing with ZML is you can have multiple models and multiple simulations and combine them into multiple tasks. And a task here would be simulate this model. You can also set parameters, you can all those things. So this is describing the process of doing something, and this could be one possible way of actually defining something like dynamic FBA without having to make a single model description that contains everything. And because what generally happens is people don't want to encode how you model into the model encoding itself, right? And so this is sort of a meta language that's on top of it. So from this one, you can't do this yet, but the idea is to get the stimulate the discussion so that if there's a thing from the community that says we want to be able to do this, then we get involved with the SEDML community and say, how can we extend SEDML to be able to do this, if this is the way to do it? There are probably other options as well. So, it all sounds very positive there, but there's of course the usual problem. Standards themselves, I think, said, are not very interesting to do. Like Neil said, they take time. They take time because it's not only writing the standard itself. It's the standard itself. You have to write libraries to interpret that new standard. It takes time for people to implement stuff because nobody pays to implement standards in software, right? Unless they have to. However, if the emphasis comes from community level, and in this case, the more people that are involved, the better, then this whole process becomes a lot easier because then you have buy-in of the people actually doing the modeling, the people developing the tools, and the actual people using them. And so, yeah, that's the take-home message. Esther is doing the database. These are the people from the SPML community that I've worked with on this. And if you want more information on standards in systems biology in general, this Combine initiative is a sort of a loose federation of standards, of which all the ones I've talked to were part of. And it can act as a portal as to where to go to get hold of people if you're interested, or if you think that one of these might apply to the work you're doing. So, with that, thank you.
Time for a few questions. If there is any.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I mean, this may be more technical to discuss later, but what's the status, in your opinion, of converters? Let's say, assuming that SBML, and I agree, is a good standard, are there standard tools for converting from, let's say, Cobra to SBML and other formats?
Yeah. So the nice thing about the Cobra version of SBML is, for example, the support, we built support into libSBML, which is for reading and writing SBML files. We built into that a converter for going backwards and forward from Cobra to the new standard. So that is literally, if you're working in Python or MATLAB, one line of code. That for as far as Cobra goes itself. If you get the more obscure formats like some sort of Excel spreadsheet, but I mean, most people have their own ways of getting from somehow to Cobra or something Cobra-ish. So, yeah. There's also a lot more that's not officially in the standard, but things, so for instance, things like gene associations, annotation, all of that is currently under discussion for the next revision of the specification.
Because I was going to say, another big issue, I think, is, as someone was mentioning earlier, keeping track of the annotation. How do you know that that reaction should be there, references, and so on? And the other is the gene to reaction mapping, which I think is actually quite problematic the way it is now, because I think it's not always just a Boolean expression, can be complicated and condition dependent. And so
yeah. Absolutely. So what has sort of happened is one of the problems is that, for example, okay, this is a bit technical again, is, for example, the Cobra toolbox uses a notes field, which is meant to be an arbitrary HTML description of whatever that element is, but it uses it for a specific, storing specific information in a format that only it understands, that it's come up with, right? So it means that, and there is better ways of doing it. For example, an EC number is stored in that, where you can quite easily use a Miriam annotation to store an EC number, right? Gene association, maybe we come up with a new way of doing it, and then what happens is it frees up that thing to be able to write. You can write a whole document in one notes field if you want to, about where that came from. So a lot of it is happened because of sort of a historical usage of incorrect usage of these things.
Let's continue, I think, on this the discussion itself. Okay, and let's thank you again.